everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got an epic show ahead, but just remember, if any of you have experiences you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can either email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com or head over to paranormalportal.net and scroll down and find the button that says Interview Me, and that'll allow you to look at a calendar of possible times and dates and find a date that works for you. Love to hear your stories, so definitely get in touch with me. Hey everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Hope y'all are doing wonderful out there, embracing the last part of summer as the year winds down. It's pretty crazy how quick time is going. But thank you all for tuning in, and thank you for all the love and support you guys give me in continuing to push the portal forward and letting people know about the portal. I really thank you guys for those personal endorsements. That means the world. I've got a fantastic show lined up for you guys. I am welcoming Betsy from Indiana, who's joining us, and she's got a whole truckload of paranormal experiences that we're going to talk about. We're going to dig into those now, folks, so hope you're ready. We're going in. Hey, Betsy, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I really appreciate the opportunity to meet more and more new people all of the time, and I find all the stories are incredible, but I'm always brought back to one starting point. I pre-warned you when we were talking before recording, but I always wonder where it started for you. When did the weirdness enter your life and kind of put you down this path?
Yeah, to be honest, I kind of remember, I have memories going back from the time I was probably 1 or 2 years old. I remember wearing diapers. My family always teases me, and they're like, yeah, because you wore them until you were 6. No, I didn't. but no, so I mean, I can remember learning how to walk. I can remember, taking, I think walking I already had down, but like trying to walk up steps and things like that. I can remember as far back as that. So it started way back then for me. I just remember it was certain rooms of the house, certain areas that were especially scary to me, and I don't know how to exactly explain it. My bedroom was probably the biggest one for me. I shared it with two older sisters, and I can remember seeing through the bars of my crib, and there'd be a shadow of a little girl right by the closet, and she'd just be crying, sobbing, over in that corner. And that just terrified me. And I would not stay in my crib to save my life. And of course, my 2 older siblings had no idea, what I was experiencing or seeing.
Wow.
So, yeah. I can remember crawling out of my crib and into my parents' bed, and my dad was angry, and he was annoyed. He's like, she needs to learn how to sleep in her own bed. And so he carries me off and puts me back in the crib. I start crying really hard. And my mom's like, oh, Steve, it's fine. She picks me up, puts me back in the bed, and he's all grumpy with both of us. But I just remember being so pleased because I just did not want to see that shadow anymore. And it wasn't just a one-time thing. It was repetitive almost every night. As I got a little bit older, it became, less and less that I would see it. But just that feeling and just, knowing that it was there somewhere in some sort of respect just always, shook me to the, the
Yeah.
soul.
No kidding.
Yeah, and my dogs and cats and stuff they would look in that corner and bark or hiss, and so that was always confirmation to me that I must not be totally crazy, because I
Right.
don't think I'm the only one that sees it.
Now, were you ever able to corroborate that with any history, or was that just a real odd event with no understanding?
Well, actually, the only thing that I have to sort of confirm it, it's really bizarre. When I was 8 years old, I got scarlet fever, which you don't really hear of people getting, you know, this day of age. And I just remember I was so sick. It was like vomiting and high fever, and I don't even remember what all else. I think, a lot of coughing and sneezing and stuff. And I was out of school for about 2 weeks, I remember.
Oh wow.
And I'm sorry.
I said, oh wow, that is
Yeah.
tough. Wow.
Yeah, it was really rough. And it was about a year later, and I was on my bike and just going kind of backing down this country road, because we kind of lived out in the country. It was like one of those weird situations where it was like sort of a plot of houses out in the country, not an addition, just old farmhouses that happen to be close to each other. Um, and so I'm riding my bike back and forth, and this old lady, and I can't recall where she came from or where she ended up going, but she stops and talks to me, and she says, um, "Do you know those two bedroom, or see those two windows up there?" And I said, "Yeah, that's my bedroom. I share it with my two sisters." She's like, "Oh, that was my bedroom too growing up." She
Oh.
told me her little sister died at 8 years old
Oh
in
no.
at the in the corner of the room, of scarlet fever.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah. So whether that's coincidence or not, but I think it must have been her sister that I saw. And I
Yeah.
don't know if it was coincidence or not that I had scarlet fever at 8. This little girl died of it at 8, and I was the only one that ever saw her. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was
No, that's powerful, and it makes
quite a
actually,
terrifying experience.
yeah, it makes perfect sense though, because I mean, obviously that was a lot of times when people are investigating spirits, they try to use trigger objects or recreate scenarios to resonate with this spirit that's troubled or at unrest or whatever. And I would say that your circumstances absolutely created a point of sympathy, between yourself and this little girl. Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, yeah. And my family would always say, because I have always dreamed quite a bit. I remember started lucid dreaming by the time I was 4. Um, so they thought, well, Betsy, you're just dreaming all these things, And I'd say, no, I can see it. I'm awake. I'm aware of my surroundings, and now I have had sleep paralysis before, um, where I've seen like the shadow man and everything like that. But I'll get in on that in a minute. But
Sure.
I just know that this was different, that
Yeah.
I was definitely seeing her. Um, and yeah, I don't really remember where I was going to go with that, but
Well, yeah.
I remember my first lucid dream, though. I was 4 years old, and of course I was in a Disney movie, and I was in the dream. I was in Beauty and the Beast, and I came up to the castle, and I realized, oh, I can do whatever I want. I'm going to go open the doors and explore this castle. And then, this is when I realized that lucid dreaming isn't what you quite think it's going to be. And even though you can control some aspects, you can't control everything. And I just remember it was like maybe like a monster or something came through, and I couldn't control that part. But
Right.
but yeah. So anyway, do with that what you will.
Sure.
But yeah, my family always blamed, my experiences on my crazy sleep.
Well, I think that's way too coincidental for that not to be something incredibly profound that you shared so much, not only with age, but the circumstances with this other little girl. And I think that's very powerful. Did you ever get any indication that this was an aware kind of thing where the spirit might have been aware of you, or was it just like an event replaying?
Yeah, like I've heard you guys talk and other people talk about like residual hauntings, which
exactly.
is an event replaying, correct? And then, the more aware paranormal things. Sorry, my dog's back there sneezing and walking around.
It's okay. It's all right.
I don't know, because like when I think about the nature of it, and how it was like this repetitive thing, and all I ever saw for the most part was her sitting, in the corner and crying.
Yeah.
That makes me want to say it's residual, but I recall having maybe it was a dream, but it felt very real. Having what felt like a very real experience to me. It was a little girl and an older girl, and they came up to me and told me that they would stop bothering me now.
Oh.
And I don't recall the older girl at all. And it was really weird because they were, how you think about it, maybe like your generic ghost being covered like with a sheet or something. Sure. It was like their skin had been plastered with newspaper clippings.
Oh, really?
Like plastered. So it was like it was almost like their skin was like the newspaper itself.
Oh.
And I don't know who the teenage girl would be. My best guess is one of my friends' houses. Her house was. She and I both knew it had to be haunted. There was all sorts of spooky stuff that happened there, and she knew for a fact that a girl in her teenage years had passed away. She got hit by a train down the road from her house. And that's the only thing I can think of is like, maybe it was an attachment type of thing.
Sure.
But as far as like the history of my parents' house, we looked into it and there wasn't a whole lot told. It was between like a mill and an old grocery store, which the mill has long been gone, and the grocery store got turned into a house. So,
right.
And then as far as like the history of who lived there, we never really saw much, in the archives at the library.
Right.
So,
okay.
Who knows?
Yeah, and there's not always a clear explanation for things, but I think the little girl passing away with the the exact same circumstances as you were experiencing makes that one obvious, but the other one, it's hard to say. Sometimes a lot of us think, or we come to the conclusion, a lot of people, that there has to have been events at a place for it to be haunted, but I don't think that's always the case. I think sometimes they find us, and I don't really understand the circumstances of their experience, but it seems like sometimes there's attachments that happen for whatever reasons, and we don't know, but they tend to cling on to people for whatever reason and then follow them. And maybe it was because you had some underlying sensitivity. I think that people that deal with sensitivity or psychic abilities, if you will, kind of hate that term because it becomes such a art of charlatans and fakers. But I do think that there's genuine phenomena that people experience, and some people are much more sensitive than others, and they can become somewhat of a beacon for these lost spirits that are kind of wandering, and so they get a lot of attention in that manner. So yeah, I mean, it could be any number of things, but also I think the land can have a history even without it being attached to a house at the time. The land remembers, I think, and sometimes those things are always there.
Well, something that you guys have mentioned before, and I always forget about this, but my parents' house was right next to a river with a dam. It was just very, very small dam,
Sure.
And they say that water can be, how you say, like, feed energy to any spirits that might be around.
Yes, absolutely.
that I would like ever since I heard that, I always wondered if maybe that was sort of the source of some of the stuff that, kind of happened at their house.
Yeah, good points. Yep, absolutely. I think those are all valid possibilities.
Well, and like I think children too are more sensitive to those sorts of things. It's funny, like when my nieces and nephews were younger, and my current niece and nephew that are very young still, whenever they go to that part of my parents' house, they don't want to be over there. They, it scares them, makes them nervous. They don't even like to use the bathroom upstairs by themselves.
Sure.
And I was always like that too. My mom always had me take the golden retriever upstairs with me when I hadn't used the bathroom because she got tired of going up there with me. She's like, there's nothing to be afraid of. It's fine.
Yeah.
You get that feeling like somebody's sneaking up behind you, and you feel like you have to run.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. That's just always how I felt in that second floor of my parents' house in general. So it was just, yeah.
Wow.
And I don't think I'm alone because like my nieces and nephews, they seem to have reacted very similarly.
And they wouldn't have known about this history, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that does tell you something. I mean, that's the fact. And you're right. I definitely believe children are so much more sensitive to this stuff than we are. And that can be for any number of reasons. But generally speaking, at the very least, their lives are much more quiet than ours as adults. We're so focused and hyper-focused on so many things as adults that it doesn't surprise me that it takes a lot for us to notice. But kids are wide open. They're just, experiencing everything. So I think they just are much better observers.
Yeah. Well, and their little brains aren't quite developed yet, and they don't have necessarily the rules that we've set in our, in our minds. Before we started the show today, I was kind of telling you about how I tried to sort of shut off that part of my brain for a very long time, and I think I was pretty successful. But now that I've been doing research and stuff and kind of opening it back up, so you could say, I feel like I'm starting to, experience things a little more again.
Sure, and that's pretty common. That people that have a lot of experiences are like, I just want normal. I want this stuff to go away. And it seems like inevitably in a lot of cases, people do finally, at some point in their life, go back down this road and like, well, what was going on there? I think I'm ready for answers. And so they start opening those doors again. And now, curiously, did you notice anything starting to happen when you started to question it all again?
Not really, except for just recently, I swear, I've never seen an apparition before. I was walking, I was letting my dogs in from out in the backyard, and I turned around and just like a dark shadow, like perfect, silhouette shadow of a man just walked right through the kitchen and like through the wall into where our basement. I'm in our basement right now, but just kind of disappear into the wall that the stairs go down. And I've never really thought this house to be haunted because I don't know, it just never gave me a vibe or anything,
Right.
Every once in a while I'll hear crashing around or sounds like somebody's walking in the attic or something like that. And I'm just like, shush, I'm trying to sleep, or whatever it is, Try not to think too much into it. But yeah, that was very weird. And it was one of those things where I figured if I had seen something like that in my life, I probably would have turned the other way running.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I just stood there sort of in shock. What did I just see?
That's a lot to absorb. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But I mean, if there's somebody in here, and I've researched this house, I don't think it's relatively new. You know, it's built in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not 100-year-old house or whatever. You know,
Right.
And anybody in England would be like 100 years old is still pretty new. You know what I mean?
Well, sure. Yeah, you got a lot more history out there for sure.
No, it kind of, I feel like it sort of stopped.
Okay.
Probably around the age of 23 or 24 is when I was really able to kind of block it out a little bit. I remember the last experience I had, and this was sort of more on the scale of like I said, sleep paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
I was at my brother's house, and it's funny because he's a pastor, and I was sitting in their guest bedroom, and I just kept waking up and seeing the shadow man. Ooh. And I'm talking, you know, like the dark silhouette with the brimmed hat. That's what I always saw. And it's always just like he's looking in on me. And it's not the first time I'd ever seen it. And I used to see it a lot. And it was like this cyclical thing where I just kept waking up and being like, phew, he's not there. And then I look at the door and there he was. And then wake up. And it was like, I kept waking up like almost like Inception. Right. Like I kept waking up at like thinking I was like real life.
Yeah.
Having it feel so real and then seeing him and then waking up and seeing him, waking up and seeing him. So I get up and I go to lay in their living room. I'm like, maybe if I just change the environment, I won't see him.
Right.
And then I wake up and I see him in the living room. And then I wake up and I finally am actually truly awake. And I realize that if I had woken up, I don't understand. Like, it all felt so real. It was like,
wow.
It's very hard to explain.
Yeah.
And so I did end up going to the living room, but I made sure when I laid on the couch, I wasn't facing that doorway because I didn't want to wake up and see it again.
Yeah.
And it's every time, and like that dream I told you about the ghost girls, every time I would have one of these, I would just start shivering, just like uncontrollably.
Right.
And I mean, just to feel like goosebumps all over me. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like I was almost convulsing. I'd be so cold and shaking so hard. And it's very bizarre and very unsettling, especially, and I never heard of the whole shadow man thing. I hadn't heard of it, anybody else having it yet. I thought it was, you know, unique to me.
Right.
And I told my sister about it, and she ended up hearing something on some paranormal show and told me, and I don't know if that made me feel better or worse, knowing that other people experienced it too and called it the same thing too.
Right.
Which I just thought was absolutely wacky. I mean, I guess it's the most easy thing to call it, but
sure.
Still, you know.
So yeah. Let me ask you, when you experienced this, did you have any feeling that this was a really nefarious thing, or dark and evil, or was it just appearing shadowy and creepy?
No, absolutely dark and evil.
Okay.
Like, it's very, like, the most terrifying thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah, it's that's pretty consistent with
just
a lot
the normal
of these.
ghosts walking around overseeing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Because
Yeah.
I've heard both versions of these, you know, quote unquote shadow people. It sounds like you saw what's called the hatman, and it's a specific kind of shadow person because it's always depicted with the flat brim hat. That's very common. Also, people reportedly observe red glowing eyes on that as well. Did you notice any eyes?
Oh, thank God, no.
Okay.
But, you know, just definitely knew that he was looking in on me, but no, thank God. I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah, well, for sure. The interesting thing about the Hatman stories, though, is some people have just said, "Knock it off! Quit standing there staring at me. I'm trying to sleep," and they'll see it's kind of turn and walk away and then just disappear. Like, and other people are feeling like this is something horribly evil. It's trying to get me or trying to, you know, do whatever. And other people are just like, yeah, it's just annoying the hell out of me. And so, and they just tell it to go away, and it does. in several cases anyway that I can think of through the years of going through people's claims about it. But, and I don't pretend to know what the hatman is, if it's just another kind of spiritual entity or if it's something more dark and nefarious like a demonic presence. I don't know. But whatever it is.
I don't know if demonic's necessarily the word, but definitely bad. Definitely, I don't think there's any goodwill coming from whatever it is.
Yeah, and I've shared this on the show before, but I found it very interesting, and maybe it'll mean something to you. I don't know, but there's apparently a Cherokee observation of this in their shamanic traditions that the shadow people, I don't know if it's the hatman specifically, but the shadow people are actually performing a function or a service in that they are said to feed on dark negative energy, but in the course of them doing that, they're actually cleansing it and removing the dark, horrible energy. And so I like that description. I don't pretend to know if that's correct or not, but I do like that because at least it's performing a function at that point, not creating more dark and evil, which, is obviously the worst version of that story. So I don't know if that means anything to you, but...
Oh, I've never heard of that, but it's really interesting. I'd like to look into that a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I was blown away by that too, because I do like to think that a lot of this stuff, of course, it's scary and it's freaky and horrible, but that there's some higher meaning to it, I guess. And maybe that's my own personal bias, and I'm trying to impress that upon all these different phenomena. I do believe there's evil and there's horrible things, don't get me wrong, but I would like to think that, for the most part, it's hopefully people misunderstanding or just not really able to read the situation correctly, but that they are doing something benevolent. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That would be, absolutely. And it could be that I find it evil because, I'm looking at the shadow of a man looking at me. It's very intimidating.
Sure. Yeah. And
so, it could be just pure instinct that makes me feel that way.
Sure. So, it's also disheartening the fact that you woke up many times back in the same situation. That feels pretty twisted. It does.
Yeah. That happens to me sometimes, and it's the worst cycle in the world. It's hard to explain. And it's usually once I realize I'm asleep and I know I need to get up. Yeah. This really has nothing to do with the paranormal, but it happens to me where I so I just keep this cycle of thinking I've woken up in real life and getting up and, start my day. Yeah. And then waking up again and doing it again and again until I finally actually wake up and I have to, sort of smack my face to, yeah. You're like, am I really awake this time? Yeah. But I probably need to see a sleep doctor, really. But
well, I think there's certainly plenty of medical conditions that can cause that. But I do firmly believe that, like sleep paralysis, for instance, I'm sure that there is a medical reasoning behind maybe a large portion of it. But I do also think that in our modern thinking, we ignore a lot of those spiritual traditions and understandings that our ancestors had. And maybe there is a physical manifestation of it, but maybe that's the breadcrumbs of some spiritual struggle. I don't know, because I think if we're experiencing things on a spiritual level, I think it can manifest physically or neurochemically for us as well. Like there might be that might be one in the same. It's just two different viewpoints on the same phenomena. But I don't mean to suggest there isn't a medical underlying condition that can lead to sleep paralysis. I just think that there's also could be a spiritual reason for it as well. So I think maybe it's more holistic to look at it in that regard. I don't know.
No, I definitely could see that. It could go either way, sort of like my spirituality feeds into the sleep paralysis, or
Yeah.
does my sleep paralysis be feed into the spirituality,
Right. Yeah.
the weird things that it kind of does to your brain a little bit. I mean, yeah, and it could go really either way.
Right.
Yeah, and that was something I think when I had written to you before. I when I was about 14, I think, or 15, I had stopped experiencing like the shadow of the little girl after that dream I had. I'd started experiencing, it was like my mom's fine china and stuff that she had on a plate rack, and there was even a bar going across it, so it couldn't, just easily fall
Right.
to the ground if, like let's say, house shook for some reason, thunder or something.
Right.
And I swear for like about 2 weeks, the dishes just kept, falling off around me, breaking on the ground. Oh. And where they were falling off, they should have hit the carpeted area. And they just kept hitting, like, my dad built the floor. So it's like this weird concrete creation he made. I don't know. He's an artist, so he had some really wacky ideas when he was working on the house. But so it hit that and just bust everywhere. Oh. And this kept happening to me, and my mom was just, getting real mad at me. She thought, am I doing this to, at spite of her for some reason, right. Or am I just that clumsy? And then when I was with my brother, that there was this stemmed crystal glass on the shelf, and I was standing there talking to him, and it just flew off the shelf behind me and landed right on that concrete like I was talking about. And he saw it, and he took the pieces and hid them in his bedroom.
Wow.
So that way my mom just hopefully wouldn't notice it was gone. She never did either. I don't know why we didn't just hide it in the trash. Maybe we were worried that she'd see it or something.
Right.
But yeah, so it was around this time though that I ended up experiencing one of the craziest things I've ever had in my life, which was so my brother had moved out, and I still shared a room with one of my sisters. So they let me go ahead and take over his old bedroom. And I, like I was talking earlier, sort of an old farmhouse, so it has some real slanted ceilings. It makes it kind of hard to put your bed in certain places.
Right.
There's only like two good options. And I didn't want to be set up exactly like how he had it, so I put my bed on the other wall. One night, I just woke up like a sort of like a cold sweat, and I felt like I just had a whole ring of nightmares that I can't recall now, but it made me almost sick, like nervous and sick, and I couldn't sleep until the sun came up and I started hearing the birds chirp and all that. And this kept happening like every night. So whether this was like maybe a big hallucination due to, lack of sleep, I don't think it was. But one night I was just so exhausted that I had, finally just my eyes couldn't take it anymore. I fell asleep. And when I did, I felt something punch the underside of my pillow. Like it came through the bottom of my bed and hit me right in the face.
Oh my God.
I mean, I remember pulling up my pillow and looking underneath it and, trying to figure out a source for this. And, of course that terrified me. So, but like I said, I was so exhausted. My body was just, you have to go back to sleep. You don't have any choice. And so I had woken up, and I would say I was hovering about 2 feet above my bed. Hovering.
Oh my gosh.
And bam, right down on the bed. As soon as I opened my eyes, I felt myself fall down onto the bed. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is this is freaking me out.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And I think I went down to the living room and slept the rest of the night in there because I just, I was too freaked out. I decided to change where my bed was going to be located. I put it back where my brother had it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I just felt like that was the only solution to the problem. Never had a problem again after that. As far as I still had nightmares. I've always had nightmares. I'm always going to have nightmares.
Okay.
But like not like the kind I was having. My brother came to visit and he noticed that I had changed my bed, positioning, and he was like, "Yeah, it was scary having your bed on that wall, wasn't it?"
Ooh.
And I was like, "Wait, what? What do you mean?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, that's the scary side to have your bed at." He's like, "I could never sleep on that side." It's like, okay, you gotta tell me more. And he told me that he could hear people having conversations, weren't there, and they were like nefarious conversations, like speaking like evil things to one another.
Oh God.
And like trying to tell him to do evil things. And it was so bad that my mom made him see a therapist, and she thought he was losing his mind. He moved his bed to where he ended up having it for the rest of the time, where I ended up moving mine. Said he didn't have a problem after that.
Oh my God.
So,
yikes.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So we both had we both definitely experienced different things. Mine was a lot more physical and, nightmare based. His might be creepier in a way. I don't know. They're both pretty creepy.
They are. Something about that part of the room. It was very protective about that part of the room, though, huh?
Yeah, and it's a tiny bedroom too.
Yeah.
Very small. So, it was my dad had added on like that bedroom to the old house.
Okay.
To the old part of the house. So that wall was where it connected to the old house. And so, I mean, that maybe they didn't like that he added on, or maybe,
Yeah, it's hard to say.
I'm not sure. Oof. Yeah.
That's terrifying, though. So we're talking, you're levitating and he's hearing voices all when the bed was in that same position. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And that's what you hear about, like, those certain cases like Ed and Lorraine, where the girl ended up levitating and falling on the bed, and people are always like, "Oh, that's ridiculous. No way. And I'm like, I don't know.
Well, wait a minute. Let me talk. Yeah, it is an extraordinarily rare event, but it's not unprecedented in people feeling themselves getting struck. A lot of people, investigators, have, felt themselves getting punched. There's certainly several cases of people levitating or being thrown across a room. I've certainly heard of all of those through the years. And granted, I haven't experienced them myself, but, still, that's incredibly powerful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I just thought it was really creepy how, like, these people who were, conversing were also trying to tell my brother to do these evil things. And it's funny, like my dad was he didn't believe in the ghosts at all. He thought that we were all ridiculous.
Sure.
It's kind of funny. My dad and my sister, who are the only redheads in the family, were the two that absolutely did not believe at all.
Interesting. Okay.
And I don't even think I mentioned this. This is also really crazy. My redheaded sister, the only time I've ever seen her scared of anything paranormal, we were standing in our bedroom, same one where the little girl was or whatever, and I still don't have any clue what this was, but it sounded like something started growling very loudly, and it was right next to both of us.
Oh, dear.
We both heard it, just right in our ears, and we look at each other and just run downstairs. And that was the only time I'd ever seen her uh,
Affected.
frightened of something like that, or affected.
Yeah.
Besides one time she saw a ghost of our cat that had died or something like that, which I
Oh,
believe her,
sure.
but I
Yeah.
never saw it.
Uh-huh.
Um,
That is interesting about the red-haired thing. I wonder if there's something about that. That's fascinating, though, really.
they're both left-handed too, and neither one
Really?
of them believe in ghosts at all.
Huh. Well, that's
Yeah.
surprising. I mean, it's great for them that they were able to, other than,
Yeah.
hearing about all these other things happening to you. The question I also have is that the brother that ended up becoming a minister?
Yes. Yeah.
Ah, okay. I mean, it does stand to reason, right? If you're confronted with something like that, obviously something horrible and dark and evil. Yeah, I mean, and not that that's the only reason somebody can become a minister, but that evolution makes sense to me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He had a lot of reasons why he got there, but I'm sure that really helped push him along the way.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Wow.
when I brought up the ghost cat, it made me remember that I have had another experience that I can't believe I didn't think of this very recently. About 3 years ago, I had an English Mastiff, and she was my girl. I loved that dog so much. Um, we went on vacation, and she suddenly got sick while we were on vacation and had to be put
Oh,
down.
oh, I'm sorry.
So it was very, 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 very rough on me not being able to be there with her. And she had these two habits. One, whenever she wanted in from outside, she'd scratch on the door. And it was so loud. It was like she was trying to break the door down. She's a mastiff though, so
Yeah, they're very big
it
dogs.
tracks.
Yeah.
Um, and I still hear that very consistently. And I do have two dogs that also do that, but they'll be on the couch or inside. And I just hear at the door scratching. And I mean, probably, 4 or 5 times a day.
Oh, wow.
Um,
That's cool.
and I never felt like I had the shivers during the dreams, the cold chills, but I never felt like when you hear people say, "Oh, I feel like I walked in this room, like a cold water, icy air." Where she used to stand next to my bed, she'd always kind of announce that she was going to jump on the bed. She'd do this like, roar, 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 and my hand dropped, and I immediately pulled it back because it felt seriously like I had dropped it into a bucket of, ice water or snow or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I totally didn't think about that until I mentioned my sister seeing, the ghost cat.
Yeah, that's
And I
fascinating.
wasn't sure, if animals really did haunt very much, but I mean, it has to be.
Right. I'm kind of personally under the impression, and this is just speculation on my part, but I kind of like this because I've had lots of beloved pets that, didn't obviously live an awful long time because they don't, but
No.
they sure take up a huge part of our hearts and we love them. And I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that have experienced their pets still being around them. So I've kind of come to the conclusion that maybe they kind of just stay around us until it's time for us to go home. Like maybe they're just there, a heartbeat away, or just a little bit, but they're still there, and still surrounding us with their love and their devotion. And maybe when our time comes, then we'll all go home together. I don't know. At least I
I
like
like
that thought.
that.
Yeah. It makes me feel good. I'll tell you, my mom had a Maltese, and it was named Tucker. And this dog and my mom were inseparable. And every night there was a similar behavior pattern. This dog would get on her bed and then do like dogs when they're going to poop, they kind of do like 50 circles and they're looking for the right spot. That's the way this dog would lay down and go to sleep. It'd do that circle, 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 and then plop down. And of course he got sick and died, and it was a heartbreaker for my mom and my dad as well. But my mom says that still, even to this day, every once in a while she'll feel this little footsteps doing circle, 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 and plopping down next to her. And so I think there's merit to that, at least maybe not in every case, but in some of them, that there's such a bond, there's such a connection that they just wait for us to go home.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I live to, the average age of a female in the U.S., I'll end up having like a whole zoo of animals.
You might need to build an ark. You might need to build an ark to get to the other world.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Just like tons. It'd be a wolf pack.
I think it's a beautiful thought, though. But there are so many people I've talked to that, like, this one person had a dog that passed away. It was an older dog, but had lived its whole life with him. And he said that he went through the kitchen one time, and there's one place this dog always laid down. And he went through the kitchen and looked down, and there was the dog, and just kind of kept on his way. And then he's like, wait a minute. That dog passed away, and looked back, and of course it wasn't still there. But I think they are. They're probably still with us. At least I hope so.
Have you ever felt like when a cat jumps on your bed?
Yes.
You know that feeling?
Yes.
I get that often when I'm just like, I don't know what it is. It just feels like a cat jumped on my bed, and I'll go see if it's my cat. I'm like, nope. I just got to the point where I'm just used to it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my husband's cat had gotten caught in the dryer, and we didn't know. Like, it's a very horrible way for this poor cat to go. And it's where we still have, the laundry area where we still have, the cat food and kitty litter box for our cat now. Mm-hmm. And God, we make sure that dryer's empty, every time we start it. But that cat hates being in there by himself. Mm. And I don't know if it has something to do with, what happened in there.
Maybe.
But he'll just meow at me until I go downstairs and sit with him and, and let him eat.
It's probably true. I mean, maybe that's an impression that was left there from that event, and they can sense it, or maybe the cat is still there and just like hanging out by the food. But I
don't know. She was kind of a, she's kind of a mean cat. So she's probably just sitting there terrorizing him.
I mean, it could certainly be. And it's still being territorial even in the afterlife. But I think that pets are probably much more sensitive to those energies than we are. As you mentioned, the dogs in your growing up house would look and like they didn't like staring at that corner. So I think they do see this stuff, or they maybe are much more open to it than we are. But yeah, it's fascinating stuff. It's been a fascinating journey. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
This was marvelous. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing these. And, by all means, if more things happen or if you think of other stories, I'd love to have you come back and do a part 2 with us.
All right, definitely. Yeah, if I think of something, you'll be the first person I let know.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Betsy. It's been a pleasure, and I'm really thrilled to have met you and had this talk.
All right, thank you so much, and same to you.
All right, everybody, that's going to wrap it up for us today. So hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thank you again so much for all your love and support. And remember, if you want to follow the Paranormal Portal, probably the easiest way is to head over to paranormalportal.net. And that's the homepage for the Paranormal Portal. And you'll find links to all of our different social media and sites and information about the shows, including our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/paranormalportal. Or just look for Paranormal Portal on Google or whatever search engine, and you'll find links to our social media such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So we're kind of all over the place, and we're spreading as as well as we can. But anyway, thank you so much for the love and support. You all take care, and remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Until next time.